And welcome to another show of Don't Get This Twisted. I am Rob, along with my co-host, as always, Tina. How you doing, Tina?
I'm good, Rob. I'm on it today, so it's going all right.
On it.
I'm on it.
I know. You're on it. It's almost like we've recorded more than one show today.
No, just one.
Hey, make sure to check out this crazy podcast on all those social medias with the Facebook and the Instagram and Twitter. And make sure you check us out on all the major platforms: Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and a bunch more. If you go to our little webpage off of Facebook, it's crazy. There's so many different places to listen to the podcast.
That's
now, which is
cool.
kind of awesome. I think that's why we're getting so many plays like all over the place. Like Canada's been popping off. And obviously like Europe has always been there. You're a lot more in the UK, which is kind of surprising as well. And India's back on top. India's like coming through. So it's kind of an interesting thing to know that people all over the planet are listening to this podcast. It's very, very, very bizarre.
That's awesome.
It is. It's super cool. It makes you think, you know, at least someone on the other side of this planet is listening to us talk crazy talk. It's crazy.
I don't think it's crazy talk, but it's nice to know that somebody's paying attention for sure.
Yeah. And getting a different view, right? Because I think a lot of places outside the United States have much different thought processes than us. So I'm sure that the people who are listening to podcasts outside the States is definitely different. Because I listen to a lot of UK podcasts, or there's some people that I listen to that are from England. So it's a much different thought process for sure. Mostly when it comes to more American thinking, like free speech, guns, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So speaking of opposites, because some of us are, a friend of mine, which it's funny, I can't even tell you who did this one because I didn't write down who told me, but it came from someone who listens to the show. Because now people are like, hey, do this or do that or do that. And I try to screenshot it or I put it in my notes on my phone. And I generally say who did it, but I don't remember who it was this time. But it was, can polar opposites have a relationship? And I think not even just polar opposites, but people who have different opinions on some things. Like, could you, if you're a conservative, could you date someone who's liberal? Or you just have very, very different upbringings and there's something that brings you together. And when I told you, you're like, oh yeah, we can do this one because I was married to one. And I was like, oh, yeah. Should be perfect. Oh yeah. And I have dated people who in my 20s, when I had a very atheist standpoint, I dated a girl whose grandparents owned a church.
Yeah.
So,
even you and I had a lot of different opinions. And when your opinion didn't match mine, I just chose not to talk about that with you.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I think friendships and relationships are totally different thing. Because again, I have friends who are super liberal that don't think like me, and I can hang out with them all the time and have no problem with it. A relationship, it would probably be a little harder, just because I pop off on some crazy shit sometimes and it gets me in trouble. Matter of fact, my friend in North Carolina, I said something I think that was just and our friendship has definitely kind of gone different directions since I said certain things. So
you know what though, if somebody's going to get so mad that your relationship is different, a relationship you've had for a long time, like, really, was that a friend? I have a hard time with that because I say stupid shit all the time, but I expect my friends to still be my friends. If they don't agree with me, cool. Tell me why, call me an asshole, do whatever you got to do, but get over it. Cause that's what friendship is.
Me too. I mean, and what I said, I didn't think it was that bad, but you know,
that's
but
right.
Again, it's subjective, right? Everything's subjective. So, and But I let kind of water off a duck's back, right? I just go, okay, whatever. Like I'll tell you what I think. And if you don't like it, then you're not going to like it. And I think generally you'll get over it, or you're going to be friends and you're like, Rob says crazy shit. Like if he comes here, just be ready because I have strong opinions, which is funny that I do a podcast on opinions because I have a very strong one, or strong ones over things that I feel about. But when you date somebody, I think it's a little different. And again, like circumstances are weird, like how you meet people or so like you might meet somebody off the chance of just being in a place with them, right? Or being at a party or whatever it is. And you might hit it off and talk, but really not go too deep into your thought processes. So you might be like, oh yeah, we had a good conversation, and you go a different direction. And until you step into that dating world of being like, hey, do you want to go out? Blah, blah, blah. Then you start talking more realistic things. But some things, it doesn't matter. I could be polar opposites on a lot of shit with people and still have a relationship with them because some things are way stronger than that. So, mostly because I'm like picky. I'm a picky eater. So like that comes up like, oh, it'd be hard to date you because you don't eat this, this, and this. And that's what I make all the time. It's like, okay, there's ways around that. If you're worried about that and not how you're being treated or how you feel about something, then you're in the wrong relationship anyway. Because I can work around a lot of shit. And
you have to when you're in a relationship. Like, for sure. Just get that out there.
And again, like some things are quirky. Like I'm a quirky guy. I just am. I'm quirky. I'm into pop culture and I like comic books and I'm kind of geeky. And I try to tell people that up front, like, this is who I am. Like, and it's like, we talked about the dating thing too. It's like, everyone in the beginning is always on their best behavior. I don't do that shit anymore. I'm on my behavior.
I don't think anybody is on their best behavior with me because I encourage people to talk freely, and that sets them up to say way more than what they should be saying.
Well, but again, I think it thins the herd very quickly.
It does.
Like I'm very straightforward now because I want to be around people who are at least close to what I'm thinking in life. But again, I can be around people who aren't. I could date someone who's totally opposite to me and I would have no problem as long as the core things that hold us together in that relationship are talked about. I think now it's definitely a little harder though, because the political playing field is so hyped up that we are kind of opposites in a lot of things. So I talk about things that I believe in fairly quickly now if I date somebody, because it's going to come up. And if you're not this, and this, we're probably not going to work out because you're going to hate me because I'm going to talk crazy shit about things. So, but I think that it can still happen. It's just going to be a very hard thing to do.
I don't know. I'm pretty tolerant. So for me, I just let a lot of things slide. But I also feel like people let a lot of things slide with me because of who I am. I'm definitely an acquired taste. I'm not somebody that you could stick in the room. One of my best friends, man, you could put her in a room and she's like, hi, how are you? And like next thing you know, she's bringing over a friend that she'll be friends with for the next 20, 30 years. And she could just pull that off. And I love her for that because she helps me to, kind of bridge the gap. But I'm more of the one that somebody will sit down with me because I'm probably sitting somewhere just out of the way, because that's how I am. I'll sit out of the way and just kind of watch. And then somebody that I don't want to be around will come and park their ass right next to me, and I'll have to deal with them. But I just kind of go into my own little mode and let them be who they're going to be. And I don't know. I don't put too much into it. So for me, I just kind of like to see what people are going to do. So I'll just let people talk. I don't want to see what they're going to say.
And I think what ends up attracting you to somebody might be well worth having opposite feelings or opposite things that you do. Because there's just a driving force of that attraction. There just is. And I think that mostly now, like we talked about it before on several podcasts, your brain being turned on is something that's way more influential to me now. Like being able to speak and being able to hold a conversation is much more important than the physical part of it.
Yeah, brains are definitely an attraction for me, for sure. Like my ex and I could not have been more polar opposite. His family's very slight, and they're not slight. His mom is, though, but they're very thin in stature, where my family is like a bunch of chunks. And he's more the blonde hair, blue eyed. I'm definitely dark hair, dark eyes. Like our features are different, so there's that. He was very technical. I'm very creative. He never cooked. I always cooked. It seemed like we were the complete polar opposite, that when we played Trivial Pursuit, he would get 3 pieces of the pie right every single time, but they weren't my pieces.
Right.
He could only get those 3, and I got the other 3. So we had to really bridge a gap and find a way to coexist, because like I'm gonna leave the door open when you go to the bathroom. It doesn't bother me, I grew up with a family that never shut the door. No big deal. But he didn't even want me in the bathroom if he was brushing his teeth. And we had him stacked 3 deep in the kitchen or in the bathroom, trying to get out of the house before we went to school. So, it was very much a culture shock to live with him. I'm like, wait, what do you mean you got to lock the door? Why'd you lock the door? It's just me.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when he would walk past the door, you're sitting on the toilet. Why didn't you shut the door? I'm like, why? You've seen me naked. We've had sex, but sitting on the toilet is supposed to be like something taboo. I don't get that.
I don't either. And it's funny because I've been around people who are definitely like that you lay naked with them all the time, but they shut the door behind them to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're pooping, shut the door, shut the door, because nobody needs to smell that through their whole house. But if you're going to pee, it's not a big deal. And then, with me, the animals had to be in the bathroom. The kid had to be in the bathroom. So for me, it was like locking the door just aggravated me, because all you were hearing was scratching or knocking or whatever you needed at the door. But if I left the door open, everybody was fine. Well, for him, he was like, that's my time. And I'm like, well, I'd like for it to be mine, but it's not.
Right. And I get that. Like, I don't get the locking the door part. Like, if you want to close the door, cool. And again, like,
he was locking me out, though.
Circumstances are everything. Like now, I mean, it's me and my kid, right? So there's a boy in the house. If a girl comes here and wants to go to the bathroom and lock the door, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Like, I get it because
it's not her
obviously,
house.
Like, well, and you don't want a 20-year-old man walking in on you peeing.
Agreed.
You just don't.
Yeah.
Now there's 2 bathrooms in my apartment. So I would suggest that person go to my bathroom so they can do whatever the hell they want to. But if you're going to use the hall bathroom, which is the common, yes, I have no issue with that. But I would find it weird if it was both of us only, and you lock the door. It's I mean, I guess people would do that because it's habit, but for me, I don't. I have no habit when it comes to that. But I understand it. And look, we all have quirks. That's what makes us opposites of each other. And I'm okay with that. If you want to lock the door, fuck, have at it. But I find that a little weird. Now, it's funny. Said person that I'm talking about, the few times that I had been around her unclothed, that she would like go to the bathroom and leave the door open, talk to me through it, but would have other quirks about her, about certain things. So, and I get it. Like, we're all kind of weird, like, and that's fine with me. And I think that's why you can be opposite of each other and make things work, because there's so many things that make that relationship magical that I could throw out certain things and go, yeah, it's not a big deal. So what? It's just that. It's just that. And those are the things that I think that we have to be able to do to be in a relationship with someone who's opposite.
Definitely have to be tolerant. Definitely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, it was funny because most people like just can't understand that I don't eat cheese.
Yeah. But
and it's funny.
You'll crave Italian food. You crave Mexican food, but you don't like cheese.
Exactly. And I'll eat a pizza, which is a whole other issue. But and those are such small things. Like, my ex-wife giggled. She was like, "You're serious? You don't?" And I'm like, And there was issues making food for the 10 years we were together. And I would just work around it. There's and I don't care. Like, people, because I don't like sushi. I don't eat sushi. Right. But people are like, well, we can't go there because you don't eat it. Like, I don't care. This isn't like, I'll find something. I'll do something. On the way there. But you're
like that, though. You'll do it, where most people, like, I have a cousin that she doesn't eat anything. And, it's hard. I find that we just go to Mexican food places together because it's too much work for me to come up with something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, see, I work around it. I'll find a way to eat. Like, even if I'm the kind of person that would be like, okay, all these people are going to go to sushi. Awesome. And if I know it's going to happen and that's part of the plan, I'll eat before I leave.
I was going to say, you do that.
I don't care because even though it's about food, it's about being social. Like, I could go and sit and drink a Coke and bullshit with everyone while they're eating and have absolutely no problem, like zero. And I don't care. But a lot of people don't get that. They're like, what, you don't, it's not weird to you? No, because I've been doing it my whole life. I don't care.
You've always been picky, so you have to acclimate.
So it doesn't matter to me. And I would rather spend time with the person that I'm in love with and the people that we're with socially than bitch and moan about not doing that. It's like, I don't care. Cool, I already ate. And I'm okay with saying that too. And people flip out. There's like, why'd you do that? Because I was hungry and I wasn't going to eat this. But I'd rather spend time with all of you. So it's, or I'll find something. Well, wherever I go, I can look at the menu and I'll change it.
Yeah.
I'll just go to the guy and go, I need this, and this, not on it. Cool. Thanks. I'll work around it. I've been doing it my whole life. It's not that important to me to fuck up something that can be good 97% of the time.
I get you.
It just doesn't make sense to me. So yes, I think you can do it. Like I said, I think the political thing now is the bigger problem because people are so hard on it and stringent on it. Could I probably be with somebody who's politically opposite of me? Yes, but it would be hard for them.
I think, we were never politically opposite until COVID started. And then the way I felt about it versus the way he felt about it were very different. And he didn't want to hear my opinions on it, but I always wanted to hear his because he was so smart and he would do so much research that he could at least tell me what was going on, whether I believed it or whether I wanted to think it or not. But he went on facts that were written about everything, where I was like, yeah, from the word go, I didn't feel right about this, and I don't believe the bullshit that they're trying to say, and I just don't want. I don't believe it. I'm not going to do it. I don't want the shots. We went through that. And now he was like, I think you were right,
right.
Because now we're far enough out where we're getting other evidence, but you didn't have any evidence to share with me other than you didn't feel right. And I was like, well, isn't that always how I was with you? Like, I couldn't tell you why I felt the way I felt. I just couldn't. But I don't know. It seemed like my instincts were pretty dead on.
Well, and I think that those 2 years divided humans.
Mm-hmm.
So I think coming out of that now is still very prominent. So if you're meeting people, if you're going on dates with people, your belief system has to at least be somewhat close, I think, where if someone's religious and you're not, the morality part has to be the same.
Yes.
Whether it's you're doing it because a belief in God or you're doing it because you have a belief in morals, which generally is the golden rule anyway, right? So I could be with someone who's very religious, that goes to church every Sunday. I'd go with them and have no problem with that. My belief system has changed since I was younger, but my morality is the same as theirs. I still believe in certain things that are morally right to me. So I could totally do that without even blinking. And because I can also have a conversation with somebody based on certain things. But I think that certain things for them would probably be hard because I mean, I have a more conservative view. I lean more to the middle, but like we've had shows on certain like guns, like I'm a straight believer in that. And I think that there's a lot of people now that just think polar opposite of that wouldn't date me because of it. But I could go, you don't want one? Cool. Don't have one. More power, do you?
But I'm going to have mine in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have mine with me, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. So I think that it's who's willing to bend a little to have the 97%.
If you're in a relationship with a polar opposite, from experience, I could tell you, you need to bend on everything. There's not one thing that you won't be able to bend on. You have to bend. And if you don't, you're going to be in a frustrated situation every single day of your life. You have to learn how to bend for sure.
And I think, look, relationships are bending for sure. Like you have to bend anyway. I mean, if you end up building a wall on anything, you're going to lose.
Yeah, it's going to bite you in the ass for sure.
Yeah, you just can't. There has to be flexibility in every single situation. Now, should you have your thought process? Yes, of course you should. But those should be points of talking and say, okay, this, and this. But if you build a wall over every single thing, you might as well just give up because it's never going to work ever.
And if you have to have your way in everything that you're doing, you don't love the person. Because when you truly love somebody, you'll bend. You'll find a way to make it work, to accommodate anything that they want or need.
Well, yeah. And I think that, again, it's 97%. There's going to be 3% that you're going to have to come up with some kind of agreement. Like, I believe this and you believe that. Cool. It's not going to hurt us long run. we disagree on this. It's not going to hurt us long run. We disagree on this. It's bad. How are we going to fix this? How are we going to come to an agreement that I believe this and you believe that? And I think that, again, that should be about 3% of your relationship.
Only 3%?
No,
Where were you starting my last relationship?
I mean like hard things. Like there's the 97% of I enjoy this about you, this about you, this about you. You know, we love doing this. I love this about this. You know, and again, 3% is probably very low. But what I'm saying is like 3% of like the hard things in your relationship that you have to bend over and say, okay, I'm going to do this and we're going to do this. I love you so much that I understand this, or I understand this. Like and that's just part of life. It's like dating someone that has older children. If you're going to get into a relationship like that, you're going to have to understand that these are things that are part of that. The family, mostly if they're close to them, if they're super close to their children, you're going to have to understand that that's part of it. And it's worth being in that relationship for.
Absolutely.
And I have one. I see, I don't look at kids as baggage because my ex-wife had kids when I met her. Kids are not baggage. Kids are part of it. And that's just what it is. And I bring my kid with me, at least for now or forever, obviously, if something happens. But you have to be able to understand that sometimes that's not a burden to people. I think a lot of people think that. They're like, oh, you understand that, I have kids. It's like, all right.
It's only a problem if you have to spend every waking moment with them and they don't know how to act. If they, like for me, I love kids. So when people say they have kids, they have grandkids, I'm like, that's not a deterrent for me at all. But are they little assholes? Because if they're little assholes and you allow them to be a little asshole and they're going to walk over me like they do you, I'm not that bitch. I'm not ever going to be that person that thinks that's okay. If they treat you well, even if they have problems with you, but there's a level of respect and boundaries, I'm cool with that. Like, work on your relationships with them. That's cool. But not if I have to be a doormat because you are. That's where I have a problem.
And I think everything should have boundaries. Everything. Friendships should have boundaries.
Yes.
If you're in a relationship, your friendships with other people should have boundaries now. That's just part of it. And you have to understand that those boundaries have to be kept, very, very locked down. Look, everyone should have free time. Everyone should have free time if you're in a relationship. But your free time shouldn't become the only time. If you're going out every weekend with your friends, there's a problem. There just is. And if you're going out with your friends and it's only you, there's a problem. Those are things that come back to haunt you. If you're not doing things as a couple, that's a problem. If you want to go out with your girl once a month, awesome. Have at it. Because maybe I want to go see my friend down in San Diego and just have it be me. Maybe. But that shouldn't be the norm. The norm should be still doing things together.
I don't know. I think with women, it's different. Like one of my besties, again, her husband doesn't always want to go out and do stuff together. So he's like, please take Tina. Or, he can't go on a trip and she wants to get away for the weekend. He'll say, take Tina, go do your thing, have fun. But they do a lot of things together. Like they got the motorcycle they do together. They've got, kids together. So there's always something going on. There's always family things. But I think he likes the fact that he could just throw me out there and take his place so that she could do what she wants to do. And he doesn't have to worry about it. We take care of each other. We have a good time.
Right. But that shouldn't be the norm. The norm should be you're spending time with them.
Yeah.
And I mean the norm as in, again, like the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule should be in with everyone. Because if you're doing 80% with your friends and 20% with your mate,
Yeah.
There's a
it's out of
larger
balance.
problem.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going out every weekend with your friend, that's a problem. And you're not taking your spouse with you, or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, that's a problem. That means that there's a much larger issue that if you're not spending time with them, you don't want to be with them. Cut it off. That's what you should do. So like for me, you get to that point where it's like, look, like I said, once a month, I think is healthy. You know, twice a month going out with a friend is probably okay. But once you start getting past that, why? Why are you doing that? Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing things together? And there's a problem. And it's either one of you. For whatever reason, find out what the reason is. Because you should be able to spend time. You're spending so much time together after work, assuming you're living together, that if you don't want to spend time on the weekends together, there's a bigger problem. The time should be spent well on the weekends when you don't have those things to do, the daily grind. And if you're disappearing from your mate on the weekend because you spend so much time with him during the week, find a place in the house or something to do away from that where you have good time. At least that's me. Like,
yeah, but you're definitely somebody that has to have the attention. Like my ex, he was like, please get out of my hair. I would rather do this. He was more of a loner. So for me, it was like I did everything separately together with him. You know, we were both in the house, but he would be in the backyard. I would be in the kitchen or in the, just wherever else. But we weren't. And that's the thing with polar opposites. When you are polar opposites, you have to give the other person a lot of space because they are so opposite you and you are so opposite them.
Yeah. I just think that look, again, I'm okay with that as well. Like there has to be that time away from each other because it makes the time together way better.
Yeah, but you know what, Rob? I've told you before, I was so freaking lonely and he could be laying right next to me. It wasn't work that the polar opposite part of that fucked with everything.
Right.
Because we were so opposite and we did things so differently that it was very hard. We worked a tremendous amount of time trying to make things work, as opposed to when you're in a relationship with somebody that's more like you, it just kind of flows.
Correct. No, I totally agree with that. That's very true. Where the flow is so easy that you almost question it. Mm-hmm. That's a whole other kind of relationship though.
Yeah.
There's bad in that as well. Mm-hmm. Like because then you have no time away from each other. Right. And then that's a whole other quirk. Like I said, you do have to have time away from each other, or you have to have your own hobby or a shared hobby that is might not be always doing the same thing together. Like I get it. Like it's like for me, like photography, was great. And it is a getaway. Or like this, like doing a podcast every week is that hour and 30 minutes or 2 hours that we do this, where it is kind of my own creative space.
And how many women really want to hear that you do a podcast with your friend from high school that's a woman? Like, they all question you with that. I know they question you.
I'm sure it's been questioned for sure. Mm-hmm. So, but again, those are the things too, where like we live in a different time and I think we're older and I think it's a little easier, a little easier. Don't get me wrong. Jealousy rears its ugly head from both men and women. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, that's just the truth. I'm not a very jealous person.
No, but you'll let people be jealous and not even realize they're doing it.
Yes.
And I've been probably in that position with you before. Like, why are you jealous of me or not?
Yeah, exactly.
But, I've had to say to you, even for this podcast, can this podcast just be me and your podcast and not because I don't want to bring your relationship into it. And I don't want to have to deal with your relationship being the other person in the podcast. So It's
No, it's look, jealousy is a good thing in relationships, and if you're polar opposite, it could make or break that. Like
you think jealousy is a good thing?
Yes.
Why?
On a small scale, because it shows that you give a shit. Like it can bring the house down, or it can show someone that you really, really, really care. It's when it becomes overly bad or overly, obsessive. You can't question everything, because if you question everything, it's bad. It's like this. If you're out with your mate at a bar, and I'm giving you something this is not happened, but would happen to me, or how I would try to handle it. See, I would handle someone hitting on my mate differently, and it all matters how they're being hit on. And I think that you have to give me the scale there. But if someone just walked up to somebody and they were like, "Hey," I would just walk up and grab her hand and go, "Gotta go, dude. Taken." And I would make sure that I had my arm around her the rest of the night. And that would be my form of jealousy. Like, and not smothering, but just so she knows, like, I give a shit that you're getting hit on. But I wouldn't be like that crazy guy. And I wouldn't question her over that. I'd be like, guys are going to hit on you, whatever. It's part of life.
But don't you kind of, like, you could appreciate when a guy hits on your girl too, right?
They both work hand in hand, of course. But I think the manly part of showing up and being like, dude, she's out of your tax bracket. Like, I would say crazy shit like that to people. I'd be like, your credit score is not good enough. And I just grab her hand and walk away. You want to buy her a drink? Have at it. You're just saving me money. Like, I'd say crazy shit like that would probably get me in trouble. But I also wouldn't like I'd let my ex-wife go out all the time dancing until all hours of the morning. So I have trust, because if you're going to cheat on me, you're going to do it anyway. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Those things are irrelevant. You either are or you're not. If you're in a great relationship and you feel happy and you're getting satisfied with whatever it is you're looking for, you're never going to cheat, ever. That's just fact.
Yep.
And if you're not, you're going to. So find a relationship where you're happy and you're not getting that. And
you're not polar opposite.
Yeah. Or if you are polar opposite, just find the relationship that fills the space. That you can have different opinions or different, certain things. You're going to get to an ideology standpoint where you can't be together. There is ideologies that we all have that are going to keep us from being together. Mine are just very small. I go with the flow of things. Like, it's because it's easy. If you're filling a void that I'm missing, I'm going to, and I hate to say the word overlook, but I'm going to see things that make me happy that aren't, I don't care if you leave your socks on the floor and you're a girl. I don't care. I'm going to swing by, pick them up, throw them in the thing, and keep the fuck on walking, because that shit doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is if we're not giving each other attention and there's a reason. That will weigh on me way more than you leaving your fucking panties on the sink or leaving makeup all over. I don't care. It's irrelevant to me. It's simple.
That stuff bothers me. Like, put your shit away. Like, I don't want to be in your filth, basically. So clean up your makeup.
Right. But like, I don't look at it. It's just that's simple shit. It's just, it's 5 minutes of putting shit away. It's like, whatever. I'll help you out with it. It's that kind of shit doesn't bother me. That's irrelevant stuff, because there's way more things that I emotionally take care of me.
I get you.
And I'll emotionally take care of you, because those are the things that I think long run drive people that have opposite things that drive you to somewhere else, or to not wanting to be with somebody. So the emotional part, and I mean emotionally, like physically emotionally, but also mentally, you have to be, mostly as a man. And I'll give you the manly part of this, is that I think that you have to be good enough to go to your mate and say, do you want me to listen or do you want me to talk? And you have to be able to say that to somebody, because sometimes your woman just wants to vent and doesn't want you to fix the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So ask, do you want me to listen or do you want me to fix it? Because I can do both, or I can give you those things. Like, because I think too many people are afraid to ask that, because everyone thinks that when you're asking or talking to somebody, it's fix the problem. Fix the problem. Well, sometimes I don't want the fucking problem fixed. I want you to listen.
I personally think guys don't know what to do with women. And I always would say to my ex, I need you to just hear me. I need to vent. And if you could commiserate, that would be fantastic. And he would be like, cool, I got the rules. I don't have to, I don't have to jump. I don't need to make a phone call. I don't need to do anything. I could just hear you. Okay. And by telling him that, he was able to drop his guard and not be on the defensive. And then life was easier to communicate at that point. I didn't realize that in the beginning. It took years of communicating with him and trying to find ways to communicate. And I really did have to find ways to get to him because of the way we both thought was, we really could not have been more opposite. It was so hard that he would say, well, it's like this. And I'd go, no, it's like this. And we would be at the opposite end of the spectrum. And I go, of course, that's where you would be. Fucking of course. And I'd walk away because I was so frustrated that, he wasn't going to be able to meet me in the middle. I wasn't going to be able to meet him in the middle. We just had to, that I would literally walk around and go, fucking of course. And I'd be pissed off and I'd come back a little bit later and he'd laugh at me. He goes, are you done now? And I'm like, this is just really hard. And he would say, I know. And then we'd try to work again. But oh my gosh, I don't want, as much as I adore the time that I spent with him, and I really do like the person that he is. And every time I see him, I still get my science lesson from him, because we don't talk about things that most people do. I get my science lesson. So I enjoy that still. I like the fact that he is that smart. But you know what I like more is knowing that the next time around, I'm not going to pick somebody that's so opposite that I have to work that hard to communicate, because that was hard. It was hard on him. It was hard on me. And I think that if you're going to be in an opposite type of relationship like that, to where you're so opposite, you're going to really have to be creative.
Yeah, I agree. I think the polar opposite, like totally other sides, is the most difficult thing you'll do. But I think having some opposite things isn't.
Oh, no. If it's, you're not going to be 100% on everything.
No, and you shouldn't.
No. But if you could meet somewhere in the middle on most things, you're doing all right. At least you're coming from a place where you're on the same page.
You're willing to bend or meet in the middle. Those are the bigger things. It's like, yes, some of us have different views, and you should. That's what make us different people, and the reasons you generally like people. Some of the people that I've liked the most have a few different opinions than me, to the point where it's like, but those are such small things, at least for me, that it's like, there's so many good things about these people that are the driving force of why you like people. So you have to exaggerate those, make those the point with all the people you're with. And the things that you have opposite opinions are, have the wherewithal to get together and say, okay, I don't believe this, but you believe this. How do we get somewhere to where this isn't going to be a thorn in our ass for the rest of our relationship? Because once you get there, it's easier. Like I told you before, and I've told most people, find the one thing you don't like about your mate. And if you can live with that shit, you're probably doing all right. It's the truth. I mean, it's like some things that you're just going to go, argh! But it's not worth not being around them. It's just not. Sometimes it's, but but you have to be able to work with it. And whether your opposites are very much alike, if you're too much alike, it's probably a problem.
Yeah. That's a problem in the other direction.
Yeah. I mean, my best friend and his wife, man, they're so much alike. So much. But you add a little alcohol to that situation and it's crazy. So you have to like even that is like, whoa. So I get it. It's some things are you should have a very strong hold of belief systems, but it's okay to have things that aren't the same. It's okay. Just be man enough or woman enough to try to make those work.
That's that.
Yeah, it's about all I can say. but you got to be, you have to be good enough to go, okay, what is it that we can make this go?
How can we meet in the middle?
Yeah. Because I mean, if you can communicate with each other, that's the biggest thing. Once you can communicate, the rest of it should be easier because you can talk, you can communicate. It's being able to communicate without pushing buttons too hard. So I don't know. Anything else for today's lovely show?
No, I think we're pretty good.
before you're off and running to some other vacation destination?
Yeah, I'm leaving in about a half hour, 45 minutes from now. So
well, there you have it. Will you enjoy the rest? And we'll see you again for the next recording.
Absolutely.
And as well as all the people that are out there, make sure to check out our socials, keep up to date with what we're doing on this fun show. Feel free to send us ideas because as you can tell, we actually do them. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then also hear us on Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and wherever you can hear these lovely podcasts. Tina, as always, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
And enjoy your break from me.
I know. Well, that's okay because we still send texts and
I know
perverted
and
memes
ideas
and everything.
And while we're not talking, we're working on the show and sending things that'll make us both giggle.
Yes.
All right, darling. Well, you enjoy.
You
fans,
too.
Peoples. We'll see you in a week.
Thanks for listening.
Yes, thank you.